All right, guys, welcome to your lesson 25.2. So again, some new words and expressions here to talk about the cost and opinion of clothing. Obviously, can be used in different contexts if it's relevant, but because we're studying the clothing and accessories right now, we're going with that. All right. So some of this stuff we've learned in the past, some of it is going to be new. I know you feel silly, but I really do want you to make an effort to go somewhere right now where nobody can hear you. And I would like for you to repeat these words and expressions after me so that we don't lose um, that feeling of making these French sounds out of our mouths. That's a very important part of learning a language. All right, so go ahead and repeat after me, and I'll point out some connections as we go through this. All right, so the expression for excuse me, pardon, pardon. May I help you? Something we learned back when we learned the foods. Vous désirez? I'm looking for a very useful expression. Je cherche. Je cherche. What is the price? Quel est le prix? Quel est le prix? So this is one of those very nice expressions that translates word for word. Quel est le prix? What is the price? Okay, so that's fabulous. How much cost? Combien coûte? So we did learn this when we learned the foods. I believe it was lesson 11. So if you're inquiring about an article of clothing, then you would say, for example, if you're inquiring about a dress, combien coûte la robe? Okay, how much does the dress cost? The question word for how much, or this could also be how many, okay? Combien. What do you think of? We have two expressions that are interchangeable. Okay, there's two of them. The first one, qu'est-ce que tu penses de? Qu'est-ce que tu penses de? So this is the one that literally translates to what do you think of? If I have any Harry Potter fans in the class, if you remember reading the book, it was mentioned very briefly in the movie. But there's the Pensieve where like it's that basin where you dump your thoughts into it. It was called the pensieve. So pense pensive. Okay. Or the adjective pensive. I don't know if you've ever heard of that one. Um, the other one is comment trouves-tu? And this is more like how do you find? Like, oh, how do you find this jacket on me? Okay. So not really something that we would use in English, but it's like how find you is how it translates. All right. Okay. Some adjectives here to describe articles of clothing and accessories. Some of them we know, some of them are new. Pretty, joli. So you see I have the E in parentheses here to show the feminine form, which means it's a regular adjective because all we have to do is add an E. Elegant is a cognate. Élégant. All right, so the only difference is we add those accent aigus on the first two E's. And again, to make it feminine, we just go ahead and add that E. Great and terrific, those are interchangeable. Okay, so super and chouette. I believe we learned those last year. If we want to say that something is in style, we say that it is à la mode. All right. So, for example, if you're wearing a new jacket, you could say, "Oh, le blouson est à la mode." All right. To describe something that's plain in style or ugly, you would say mush, mush. And no, this is not how we would describe a person. So don't go ahead and start calling people mush. Okay. So just we're just talking style here. Something that is out of style, démodé, démodé. So a couple things here. Mush already ends with an E, so we wouldn't do anything to it. Démodé, this is annoying. Oh, no, no. Sorry, not sure what's happening here. Okay, let me just go back. Démodé, you see the word mud in there. Um, So that's related to à la mode. All right, too, as in too much, okay? Trop, trop. So sometimes something could be too ugly, too out of style, too elegant, okay? So something that emphasizes the adjective. All right, something could be too small, small, petit. Okay, we learned that a long time ago. Big, grand. So those are review. Short, court. Again, a regular adjective because all we have to do is add an E to make it feminine. Long. Okay, so this is a cognate, but it's also an irregular adjective. So the masculine version of long is long. But to make it feminine, we have to go ahead and add a UE and it's pronounced longue. Expensive. We have cher. And the feminine form, we do go ahead and add an E, but we have to add an accent grave on that first E. Okay, and this is a rule in French. Whenever there's an E, consonant E, that first E is usually going to have an accent grave. And we're going to see that a couple of lessons from now with some verbs that we conjugate. All right, cheap, bon marché, bon marché. And here there's no agreement. So you would not add an E here if you were talking about feminine article of clothing being cheap. And we're not talking about cheaply made here. We're talking about cheap as in inexpensive. Okay. All right. So some of the verbs that we have here that are in already in an expression form, the verb to look for, chercher. All right. So notice how it's an ER verb. So we should be able to conjugate that. To cost, coûter. Again, an ER verb. To think that, penser que. Okay, so we do need that que here because it's, you know, if what you're trying to express is to think that blah, blah, blah. Okay, penser is just to think. To find or to think, again, I told you, right, over here, comment trouves-tu means what do you think of or how do you find? Okay, so trouver can mean to find or to think of. And then we're also going to be working with our numbers. So numbers seem to be a challenge, not so much when you see it or hear them. You hear them or you used to hear them a lot in class when I would give you the page number, but spelling them seems to be a challenge. So there's going to be one activity, a couple activities in there in your assignments where you are required to spell out the numbers. So you should know by now, you know, your numbers 0 through 20, excuse me, all your 10, so also 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. If you are still struggling with those, make sure you go back and review those. I believe it was all the way, it was in lessons, oh, I'm sorry, units 1 and 2 is where we had numbers 0 through 100. All right, so if you're having a hard time completing the activities that require you to talk about the cost of something, make sure you go back to units 1 and 2 to find those numbers. But 100 is 100. And if you remember last year, we talked about like a century is 100 years. You need 100 cents to make a dollar. Okay. 200 is 200. Okay. Not to be confused with 102, which would be 102. Notice there's an S here because how many hundreds do we have? We have 200s. So 300 naturally would be 300, 1,000, 1000, and we talked about how, you know, a millennium is 1,000 years. In case you're interested, a million is 1 million, right? Which is, it's spelled the same way. A billion is 1 billion. So those numbers are all the same. So that's it for the vocab for lesson 25.2. I will be posting just this in Google Classroom as well as this video. So make sure you use those resources. Obviously, you don't have to come back to this video unless you want to practice or hear again how these are pronounced. So that's why I'm posting also just a slide so you don't have to listen to my voice every time you need to refer to it. So yes, good luck with the work. Be sure to email or call, you can call, email, call, or text me if you have any questions about the assigned work.